Okay, so today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to make a face mask with the sewing machine. You can also do this by hand, it's just going to take a little bit longer. What you're going to need is a 9x12 piece of fabric of your choice. You're also going to need some push pins, they do make the job a lot easier. You're also going to want 2 pieces of 7-inch elastic and some scissors so that you can cut off some threads if you'd like, some velcro pieces to shut the top off. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your 9x12 fabric and you're going to fold it in half with your print facing the inside. Once you do that, you're going to fold over the top half so that we can have a little hem, and that'll make sure that your top doesn't fray when you have to machine wash it. And then you're going to take your piece of your piece of velcro, and if it's a sticky, you just peel the back off and then you slap it right on there. I'm also going to show you with a piece of non-sticky so that you can sew it as well. So once again, flip it over, fold that fabric over so that you can make your hem so that your fabric is protected, and you have your velcro piece. Now we're going to go ahead and sew it on. I'm using a Brother SE sewing machine. It doesn't matter what sewing machine you have, you can even do this by hand. It just takes a little bit longer, but it's just make sure that you sew all the way around the edges of the velcro piece. Once you have that, you're going to go ahead and fold your fabric in half one more time, and we're going to sew a seam across the top, leaving a 1/2 inch allowance around the velcro piece. So let's go ahead and sew that together. Once you have it sewn, you're going to take your push pins and you're going to take your 2 pieces of elastic, and we're going to go ahead and put those on the inside of the mask that we're forming. So you take 1 piece and you put it on the inside of the mask and push it all the way up towards our seam that we just made, and we're going to push pin it so that it'll stay in place there until we can sew it down. You're going to do this to the top of the elastic, and you're also going to do it to the bottom of the elastic towards the bottom of the mask. You have 2 pieces of elastic, so you have to do this to both sides. Just make sure you're careful, push it under and push it back up, and then that will keep it secure in place. Now, one more time with the other side, with the other piece of elastic. On the inside of the mask, push it up. Make sure that you push it as high as you can against that little seam wall, and then push pin down and under. You can also make sure that when you're putting your elastic through, you kind of make sure that it all faces the same way so that you don't have any twisted elastic when you have to put it around your ears. Now we're going to make a seam right down through the piece of fabric so that we can secure those elastic pieces in place. Just make sure that once you're done sewing and you cut your thread, you also make sure that you do knots or you do a back stitch. A back stitch is when your thread goes forward and then backwards so it kind of stays in place. Now once you're done, we're going to go ahead and take our mask and we're going to flip it inside out. It kind of makes it easier if you go to try to grab the thread or the elastic string and you kind of tug on it a little bit. It'll help you pull it through and it'll go inside out. It kind of takes a while, it's a little hard. You have to just be careful that you don't pull too hard if your stitches are a little bit weak, if you did it by hand or you just did a wider stitch. Now that we have it all the way inside out, or right way up I guess, you're going to take your push pins and we're going to make some pleats so that way when we put the mask on, it's tighter when it comes towards your ear so there's not a lot of air coming in and out. We want to make sure that we do 3 pleats. I just find that that's been the most secure to me. If it's easier for you to just do 2, that's fine, but the minimum is usually 3 just so that you can make sure that you get a secure type. Make sure that you're careful with your push pins. You don't want to stab yourself, so just make sure that you're mindful. Have a parent or an adult around to make sure that they can kind of watch and just make sure you're being safe. You just got to make sure that you're keeping a real close eye on those push pins so that you don't accidentally poke your finger when you're trying to push the push pin back up. So you make the pleats on one side and then you of course flip it over and you want to do the same thing 3 pleats on that side as well. These pleats should be about like a 1/2 inch each at least. If you need to make them a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, it's not too big of an issue. They will need to be smaller if you're trying to make a really smaller size, but this is what I've done and it usually fits most sizes. So once you're done with that, what we're going to do is we're going to also sew down a 1 line so that we can secure those pleats in place. Make sure that you're taking out your push pins before you sew down so that your push pins don't get stuck or jam your sewing machine or anything. And then here, this is what I was mentioning before, is a back stitch, and that just makes it so that I don't really have to tie a knot because it's kind of sewing over the little string that I'm using, so I don't have to tie it in place. It already stays in place with that stitch. So once you sew all the way down and you've got all your pleats in place so that they stay nice and secure, we are all done. You have your face mask. Another optional place is the reason why we had that Velcro there is so if you have a filter, you can go ahead and put that in. I have a filter here. I'm going to put it in and kind of stretch it out a little bit so it fits in place. You can use some things that you have at home. You can use a coffee filter or any type of thing like that. And there you go. Here's your handmade face mask. Stay safe, guys.